Welcome to Bridge Out Ahead, the podcast where we dig into what's under construction in life, business, and community. I'm your host, Bridger Hopkins, and around here we're honest about the journey, the progress, the setbacks, and the unexpected turns that teach us something worth passing on. We're here again with Jessica Johnson, a storyteller and writer, local author. And last episode, we got into her life and her background and a lot of trials and detours that she's had in her life. Now we're going to look at how she's been able to utilize that in what she's doing now in her writing and the impact that she's hoping to have for those who are enjoying her writing. Thanks for being here again.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So when we just were talking and you were sharing how you kind of had hit rock bottom a few times.
Yeah.
And maybe even it compounded to the point where you really said, hey, I need help, and started looking, instead of trying to internalize everything and working on things yourself, you sought help with a therapist or counselor and got some medication to kind of get a reset and start being yourself again. So as most things are, a lot of times those are part of a process. What process did you engage in maybe right after getting better or starting that journey?
With my writing, I had put my writing on hold. I had written my first fiction book before my cancer diagnosis. I was on a roll and I was ready. I changed my writing to rom-com because I discovered that I really enjoyed writing funny stories and I liked making people laugh. Then I was diagnosed with breast cancer after that book was done, and I was like, I am not in a place.
I'm not telling you any jokes right now.
Like, I can't write rom-com. But that's what I had become very passionate about it. But then I was for quite a while in a place where I couldn't write. You have to be in a good mental headspace. Or like in the zone. And I had a lot of people tell me, you just need to sit down and write, even if it's a chore, even if you're not writing fiction, just sit down and write anything. Write anything. You've got to just get yourself into the act of writing, and then hopefully your brain catches up. And that was hard because I just wasn't feeling the rom-com, at that time. But after everything kind of settled. I did have a surgery again in December, about 1 year after my initial mastectomy. I remember my doctor said, when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, she said, this year is going to suck. This next year is going to suck. I kept that in my head. I'm like, okay. I think it was mid-November when she said that. So I took that literally, like, I have a year. But after that year, I'm done. I'm done with this. And the sucking is going to end. So I had the whole, the skin dying. That was in January. I got my next set of, they're called tissue expanders. They put them in and they grow your skin. I had those from June to December of 23, and in December of 23, I had my final exchange surgery where I got my final implants, and I wanted that to be in December so I could say this was 1 year. This was a year, and not after. And so I did. I got that surgery done in that year, and so I felt like that was like the end of that chapter, and now I'm going to start the next chapter. So that would be 2024, and I decided I needed to release another book because my Fixed Up was released in 2023. I wrote it in 22 before the cancer, but it didn't come out till April of 23. So 2024, I was like, I'm going to do another book. I have to. I decided I was writing rom-coms and I'm going to write a rom-com. So what I did was I took previously, I had written a story. It was a Christmas story. And I hadn't finished it. So I thought, well, that'll be easy because it's half done. Yeah. So all I had to do is write the rest of it. And I finished that and I released it in November of 24, I think, around Thanksgiving, because that's a good time to release a Christmas book.
Yeah.
Anytime after Halloween. So I did. It was called More Than I Bargained For. And it was inspired by the McCrosty Art Center exhibit that they had, and I read about it in the paper. And I had been taking notes on that since 2016. So I started that book in 2016 and finally published it in 2024.
After the bad year, you're ready to hit the ground running again.
Yeah.
What made you get into being able to write again? Did you have, people talk about writer's block. What did you do intentionally to get through or maybe up and running again with that, partially started story?
Yeah, I definitely had writer's block, which is why I decided to go with one that was started. I read through it. I read through what I had, and it inspired me because the characters
this
existed.
is kind of good.
Yeah, like I need to see what happens to these people. And because it was already started, it was easier than coming up with something from scratch. So I think that's why I went that way, because my husband was like, you just need to write something. But he doesn't know. You can't just do that. You can't just write. So
the mechanical engineer
yeah,
commenting on
just
rom-coms.
right. Okay. Yeah. So that book is really cute, and I was proud of it, and it felt good to get another book out there. Like, I'm not done. Cancer didn't stop the creative process, but it was really hard to get back in.
So I don't know if you've mentioned this, but you kind of specifically write Christian rom-coms.
Yes.
And, that obviously takes some from your life experience. And how do you draw on, some of these tragedies that you've dealt with and bring those into a rom-com?
Yeah, it's hard. I know. When I first started writing fiction, I've been writing fiction my whole life. I have books in a box in my basement that I wrote in middle school, high school. I've always written romance. So it's just part of who I am. And I guess during college, I kind of forgot that I was a writer. I don't know how, but I did. I didn't do it. And then it wasn't until I started writing my Christmas letter as a mom. And people were like, I love your Christmas letter. I just look forward to it. Nobody says that. Nobody likes Christmas letters, but people liked mine. And I'm like, I like writing. I forgot all about it. So I was writing, like when I was younger, I started writing the romances. But before a lot of the bad stuff in my life, my stories were very heavy. They were like, somebody dies in almost every single one of them. And after all this, I'm like, that's not happening anymore. No more dying. The story I'm working on now, it used to start with the mother. Actually, she died of breast cancer in the beginning of the story. And that was like the inciting incident. And now I'm like, nope, she does not die. Now the mother actually has just started dating again after losing her husband, which does not happen in the book. And so I changed it. We're not doing the sad stuff anymore. So still having to have some kind of a deep theme or something that you can learn, but while also laughing. I do try to weave in some of the serious elements, like in Fixed Up, which is mostly funny. There is a serious conversation that the main character, Meg, has with her dad. She struggles with feeling worthy of love. And it comes out in her dating history, and the guy that she's currently in love with, she doesn't feel like she's worthy. And they are able to have a serious conversation. And I actually got the words that they say to each other. I got that from a sermon that our pastor said, and it just struck me. I was like, that's perfect for my book. It's perfect. So inspiration just strikes anywhere at any time when you don't expect it, but you got to write it down. And some of it comes from my own life. I have never felt unworthy of love. So that wasn't taken from me, but it was just from this sermon, and it fit the character. Other things, like a lot of the crazy and funny stuff that happens, all of it came from my own life.
Nice.
Like all the stupid stuff.
The comedy.
All the awkward. Yes. My husband calls me Queen of Awkward.
How did you get yourself into this predicament kind of stuff?
And that's all real, like in there. Yeah.
And, and rom-coms can be one of those things that you think of where some things that it can suffer from is not having depth of character, but
Right.
really being able to have a balance, because you want it to be light and fun,
Yeah.
but then also, being able to relate to those characters is huge.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people who even now knowing, hey, these funny, awkward things, these are real.
Yeah.
Those are things that people can relate to as well.
Yeah. The embarrassing things and just those blushing moments, like the first scene when my character Meg goes on a blind date and she has an awkward handshake. That is from my real experience. Yeah. So
Like, what do I do with my hands?
no, like she thinks the guy didn't shake her hand strong enough, so she goes back in for a second shake. And I did that at the chamber dinner a few years ago to someone that is kind of prominent in the community, and for like 5 years I couldn't look at him.
Like, let's redo this handshake,
Yes,
but they weren't on the same
He
page.
was like, "What are you doing?" Yeah.
And but those are things that make people real, because we all do those. But then being able to share that, and being hyper sensitive to when those occur, like, okay, why did I just do that?
Right.
But I bet one of my characters could do that too.
I've got a whole bunch of stuff I can use. Personal experience.
With writing too, and you mentioned trying to have a theme or a message.
Yep.
How do you come up with that and then tie in characters and in events?
Yeah, well, like I said, the first one with my first fiction book, it didn't have a theme. I was sitting there with this cute story, but I'm like, there's no underlying theme until I heard that message that we heard at church. And I'm like, that's the theme. That's perfect. But otherwise, it was just like a story sitting there waiting. I didn't want to write just a fluff piece. There has to be character growth or character arc. There has to be some good change that happens, or they learn a lesson about themselves or whatever. And then with my Christmas book, the issue was more about trust. And I've had plenty of struggles in that area. The first book that I wrote was called Do You Trust Me? And it was about my own struggle with trust after losing my son. So, I have a lot of experience in that area, and I was able to use that theme in that story.
Cool. What is your general writing process? Now you're kind of starting fresh again. You had some partial stories and getting back into it after taking a little bit of a hiatus. How does it start?
For me, it's kind of nice right now. I do have about 8 started stories.
Okay.
So, I can just pick up one and just kind of work on it. Those stories come from just random ideas that you would be amazed how many ideas you get while riding the lawnmower.
Yeah.
The riding lawnmower is a great place for inspiration.
Hard to jot it down.
You can't really do that.
No voice to text.
Yeah. You just have to remember it. But the process for me is just going to the next story that I want to focus on. Sometimes I will take 2. I'll work on them simultaneously until one of them takes over. And I'm like, this is the one that I want to work on right now. While I was doing the Christmas story, I did have another one that I was kind of like, not sure which one of these is the one that I'm going to write, until it kind of took over and I stuck with it. So now I'm working on one that I published, I think it was in 2015 maybe. It was published as a short story in an anthology of 3 stories. I'm taking it, I have my rights back, so I'm going to take it and make it a full-length novel. And it's, it's basically finished, but it's only 12,000 words, and I'm going to turn it into 85,000.
Yeah.
So I've got the idea.
A framework to work from.
Yeah. I just have to make it a lot longer.
Yeah. So in this too, as you're writing, where do you want it to go? Do you have something in mind?
For in what way?
Is it just something you're going to keep doing, or do you want to get to a certain point?
The ultimate goal would be to help out financially with my family's bills, like to actually contribute with the income that I make. And wouldn't it be great to make money doing something that you love? Like that's the goal. But I am a member of a Facebook group called 20 Books to 50K. And the theory is that you write 20 books, you can make $50,000 a year. Some of them make more. So I do I have plans I just need to get more books out there.
Mm-hmm.
One book sells the next book, and that sells the next book. And the more you have out there.
And then they can go back.
Yeah. People find this book, they go back to your backlist and they read everything else that you've written. I know that there is potential to earn an income doing this. I just have to have more books. And so I've had a few roadblocks. I have 3 books. I need to get more. So I'm not at that point yet where I'm actually making a ton of income, but that is the goal.
And even in that too you're getting reps and practicing, because it takes a lot of time to just get back in that groove of writing, and you kind of hone your craft.
Oh yeah. And the thing that stinks about it is that you spend like 6 months to a year writing a book and you don't get any income during that time. You're working every day, but you're not getting income till that book is done. Yep. So it kind of is, any kind of art or construction is like that. You're putting in the money and you're not going to see any profit till it's all done. But
and then you get feedback on what people think about it too, and how that all goes.
Yes, I do that every morning. I check my ratings, and every day I look for new comments just to see, like, did they like it? What did they like about it?
And that can be really tough too, because you can people will say all kinds of nasty things.
Yeah,
they may not have even read it.
It can ruin your day, for sure.
or even finished it.
Yeah.
But what are some of the comments that you see that are really encouraging?
Most of them are encouraging. Like, I love this book. Most of the time when they say, I laughed out loud, or this is the funniest thing, or that makes me happy because that's what I wanted. And I think it's funny. And when I find the readers that also think it's funny, I'm like, you are my readers. Mm-hmm. They get it. I wanted it to be something that they're like, I laughed so much, or I couldn't stop laughing, or I couldn't put it down. Those are the things I like to hear.
Yeah, that's pretty fun, because then it's landing.
Yeah.
With who
I'm not crazy. I think it's funny, but it could just be me.
Yeah, is this just one of my other awkward things? Yeah. Like, I'm here writing this and laughing, but no one else gets it.
Yeah.
And again, it's one of those things where even to get to the point where somebody can enjoy it, you're also talking about 6 months to a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Edits. And I found a great editor, and she gets my writing. You have to find the right editor that isn't going to change your voice so it doesn't sound like you anymore. And I have a good editor, but there's a lot of steps. I do my own formatting. I have great formatting software. I have a cover designer that I love, and there is a lot. It takes a lot of time and a lot of steps, but it's a fun process too.
And how are you publishing your books?
I publish under my imprint, which is called Frost and Faith Publications, that I started right before Fixed Up. I created a DBA with the state of Minnesota. And that way they have my imprint on them. They don't say published by Amazon. It looks more professional. And I can release them under any platform, not just Amazon, but any bookstore.
And it gives you more control.
Yeah.
And more
And
opportunity.
I get a lot more of the profit. I get, usually it's 50%.
Cool.
If I were to sell through some bookstores, I get like $1. And the book is $13.99. Yeah. So, I mean, ebooks are more profitable.
How do ebooks stack up against, in print or hard copy or paperback books?
With ebooks, you don't have the cost of manufacturing. You don't have storage. You don't have distribution. You cut all of that out. It's instant. It's just downloaded. And so with an ebook, you make 50%. With paperbacks, I make a lot less. Mm-hmm. I enjoy having a paperback, and a lot of people do.
Yes, it's hard. You can't forsake that part of the market.
No.
And it's something, too, where people might see it on their bookshelf or pass it along to a friend.
Yeah, you can lend it to someone if you have the hard copy. But ebooks, that is definitely the way to go if you're trying to make money.
Mm-hmm. With distribution, how do you find yourself going about that? Is it all online sales? Are you talking to bookstores?
We had a local bookstore here that recently closed. They carried my book. There's another one in our town that carries my book. I'm also going to Gilbert. A new store is opening up there, and there are bookstores that carry the book, but I have to go and kind
Physically
of
drop them
introduce
off.
myself and say, hi, I have a book. Would you carry it? On the online platform, it's amazing. The book can just be discovered by random people just by searching certain keywords like Christian rom-com, and then they can find it. I don't tend to carry a lot of copies of my book unless it's easier just to let them order it online.
Okay.
You know, in the olden days, you had to order like 1,000 copies and they'd just be sitting in your garage. But I don't have to do that anymore because print on demand, it takes, I don't know, an hour. They can print it.
Print it and ship it.
Yeah,
out
it's
the door.
crazy. Yeah.
What would you recommend for somebody who's wanting to start writing and sharing their stories? How would somebody start writing and publishing?
The first thing that I did was I wrote an entire book in 2011. It was my first fiction book, and I was so excited about it. And I sent it off to a beta reader, and she told me all the things I had done wrong. I had no idea. So what I would say is the first thing to do is to join a writers organization.
Okay.
I joined the American Christian Fiction Writers on the recommendation of my beta reader, and I was shocked. They have critique groups and online workshops, and I had no idea there's rules to writing fiction, and everyone knows them. And if you don't, it's very obvious. And you can break the rules, but you have to know what they are first and know I can break this because I know why I'm breaking it and I know why the rule exists. But I didn't. I was doing everything wrong. And when I joined the ACFW, I joined their scribes critique group. I had all kinds of writers looking at my writing and telling me how to make it better. And my book is a completely different book now. If I would have just said, hey, it's easy to self-publish, I'm just going to load this on Amazon and just going to put it out there, it could be horrible. You have to have somebody that knows what they're doing, not your mom or your best friend, but someone who knows the rules and look at your stuff and tell you and be able to take criticism. So definitely.
So you have to be pretty vulnerable to go and write something and have somebody tell you about it.
I had my first editor, my first round, I even knew what I was doing, but I had so much fun writing Fixed Up based on myself. My main character was basically me. My first editor for that was an author named Robin Patchen, and I had a lot of respect for her. And she read it, and her first round of comments, she said, I hate your main character. If you weren't paying me to read this book, I would have put it down.
Oh, no.
She's like, she is mean. She is just so annoying. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
You're like, that's me.
I base that character on me. And she was blunt, but she's like, but then she said all the positive things like, you have a very strong voice. This is good. Just make your character softer. This is a Christian fiction book, and the character is a jerk.
And you're like, am I a jerk?
Yeah, I know. I had to really do some inner reflection.
And then also realizing, oh, okay, it's how I'm portraying this person.
I think I exaggerated it. Yeah, I exaggerated her so much because it was fun.
Yeah.
And I had to tone her down. And when I did, it turned out way better. So I'm glad I had her because I think all the readers that were like, she's so mean, I can't read this book, I would have lost readers. So people know what they're talking about. You have to take constructive criticism.
And a lot of times good authors are good readers or, read a lot and build that into their voice or take some of those little pieces and tips. What do you find that you do for reading?
Everybody says the number one thing you can do as a writer is read. Read. They say that. And that's why I always tell my husband when I'm reading, like, I'm working.
Yeah.
I'm researching. This is part of the job. I always have to remind him. But that's the most important thing you can do is read. And you're not going to like absorb the author's voice or copy, but you can just see you could actually see when somebody does something wrong or against the rules. I've learned, like, why does that rule exist? When they break it, oh, that's why. Why they say don't use too many ly adverbs. Why? It's weak writing. But you can have them, but you have to know why you shouldn't before you put them in there. And reading helps you just kind of see when someone does something that you would do differently, or if they do something that's technically wrong, why it is wrong or why you wouldn't want to do that. It's just, it's great research.
It's some of the, one thing I've heard about, plays, if there's a rifle hanging above the fireplace on the set dressing, like the rifle better be used
Right.
by the end of the play.
Yes.
You know, so there's some of those things where you need to set it up in order to use it. Because
Yeah.
if the rifle's not there, you can't use it.
Right.
Or if you put it there, it should be there for a reason.
Yeah.
And having some of those and figured out, but you can't necessarily know.
Yeah, I had a lot of I thought I did a good job of tying up all my loose ends. I would mention something in the beginning, and then at the end, there's a reason I mentioned it. But you don't want to mention stuff unnecessarily. Why is it there? Cut it. If it doesn't,
Because maybe you can bring it in at the end and it
Yeah.
still makes sense. It has the same literary impact, but without having to go on about it for
be
3
there the whole
pages.
time. Yeah. And that's where somebody else reading your stuff, they can point that stuff out. Like, okay, you mentioned this, but then you never mentioned it again. So what was that about?
What's it here for?
Yeah. We need other people's eyes on our material so that, because you think it's perfect and you read through it and it's like, this is great. But you need another
Sometimes
2
even
or 3 sets of eyes.
sometimes even putting it down for a while and coming back and you reread it, you're like, oh, that's actually not what I thought.
Yeah. I don't recommend putting it down for 9 years like I did with my last one, but it finally all came together. And things change and your perspective changes. If you put something down and then come back to it and you think differently about it, the whole story changes.
So before sitting down today, you had sent a couple of verses that really helped you when you were dealing with these dark times, and then also impacting you coming into the season of feeling alive, and starting up with your writing again. Would you go ahead and share that with me?
Sure. I had gotten this from the inside of a book that I picked up while in the waiting room, while one of my kids was having a bronchoscopy done. And it just really spoke to me, and it made me think that this is actually why I write, why I'm sharing things that I've gone through with other people. The verse comes from 2 Corinthians 1:3-4. Praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of mercies and the God of all comfort. He comforts us in all our troubles so that we can comfort others when they are troubled. We will be able to give them the same comfort God has given us. And that really summed it up for me. Like, I wrote the first book about what I went through when my son passed away. Specifically, I wrote that book for other grieving parents. It is not the kind of book that anyone's going to pick up for fun. Like, this looks good, but it has an intended audience of people who might be in the middle of that and think, when is this ever going to feel better? When am I going to not be so sad? Or can I find hope in this situation? I wrote that book for those people because when I was going through it, I would have loved a book to help. And I didn't have one. So I wrote the book that I thought I would have wanted. And then I decided no more nonfiction because it's very raw. So that's why I switched to fiction. But I can still use my experiences to help other people.
Yeah. And present it in a way that might even impact them at a deeper level without knowing.
Yeah.
Without bringing in the downside
Yes.
so readily. So this leads us to our last section here, the toolbox takeaway. And just if there's one thing that you would tell somebody who's in their own storm right now, what would that be?
That it might feel like you are the only one going through something difficult. But the more people I know and the more I read about people's stories, there's suffering everywhere. Everybody has stuff, and you're not the only one. I want people to know that there is help in mental health. If you need help, please look for the help because it's there and it works. You don't have to suffer. I suffered for years with anxiety, and I feel like it stole years from my life. And I feel so much better now that I do wish I had sought help earlier. So now everyone I see, everyone I know, I'm like, you might want to consider, just trying something. It might make a huge difference.
Yeah. And again, we've said it a few times, but kind of looking outward from just yourself and getting help from others.
Yeah.
Then even in this, you mentioned, or the verse mentions how you can comfort others.
Right.
Because you've
Use
been
your
comforted.
experiences. They happened. and they were hard. But now that you have moved through them, you can use those experiences you've learned from them and help other people who are going through something similar share what you've learned, or just listen because you understand, what they're going through maybe, and they will trust you more than some other person who's never experienced something like that. So, that's what I found, like with cancer or talking to people with cancer, they know that I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Or someone who's lost a child. Nobody knows what that's like unless they've experienced it.
Well, Jessica, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Sharing about your process here. So yeah, that's something that really comes up, guys, is we all have our stories, and whether you're going to go and write that down in a narrative to share with the world, there's a lot that you can add to others, whether it's good and uplifting or helping them through the tough times. We've all got our stories to share. Mm-hmm. Thanks again.
Yeah, thanks.
Real quick, where can people find you?
It's easiest to just go to Amazon. I also have a website, Jessica Lee, Leigh, jessicaleejohnson.com. I write under Jessica Lee Johnson. So I'm online.
Cool. Well, everyone can go on and check out her previous books and the ones that are coming here in the future.
Yeah.
This episode of Bridge Out Ahead is brought to you by Legacy Bridge Real Estate, brokered by Grand Properties. At Legacy Bridge, we believe real estate is one of the most powerful ways to build wealth. More importantly, to build your legacy. Whether you're buying your first home, selling a property, or looking to invest, our trusted team is here to walk with you every step of the way. Legacy Bridge Real Estate, where legacies begin. Today's theme music is We're Making Good Time by Jed LaPlante. Thanks for joining us today. And remember, no matter the detour you encounter, the road ahead is still yours to build. I'm Bridger Hopkins, and this is Bridge Out Ahead.